Hey guys, Yomi here again, and welcome to another episode of Channel Chat, the series in which I talk with another YouTuber, or YouTubers, in this case just one, and we discuss general trends or events in the gaming industry as a whole. And today I'm with Major Meteor again. Say hi.
Hey-o.
Alright,
Hey-o.
okay, I need to stop interrupting you. And we're going to be talking about, basically it's been announced that Battlefront 2, or like the sequel to the Battlefront that's out now, will have a single player. It wasn't like definitely said, but it was leaned towards, and you know that they're gonna add it because of the public uproar. So I guess basically we'll just be talking about Battlefront in general and why it missed the mark. So Major, what is your current opinion of the game?
It's complete shit. I don't like it. I honestly don't understand how they could take something that was good 7 or however long ago it was, like 10 years ago, and make it even worse than, well, no, it was good 10 years ago, but they've made it utterly terrible. I mean, I jump on for maybe a couple of hours, and maybe 5 minutes of that will be, like, worthwhile gameplay. Right, okay, I'm going to read from my Twitter here, because I had a good rant, okay? I said, I desperately want to like Battlefront, but it's just too difficult to. Who thought it would be a good idea to add a grenade that respawns every 10 seconds? Who thought it would be a good idea for players to have 3 grenades at once? Who added in the turbo laser? Who added in grenades that do 100% splash damage? It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, there's so much cheese in the game, just stuff that can kill you instantly or just drain a huge portion of your health instantaneously. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, I actually still find the game fun sometimes whenever the nade spam isn't that prevalent and I'm not getting killed constantly from super long range by a turbo laser. But in general, it's just like the game doesn't really feel as much like Star Wars in its gunplay as the old ones did. But
yeah, I mean, like, I get that it's simplistic and I get that it brings in new players, but I guess I think that they had to try and find the balance between it being user friendly and still have some sort of depth to it, and I feel like they missed that mark where it just became so, like, it's about as deep as a child's paddling pool, where it just ends up being, if you come around a corner, it's whoever shoots first, because it's whoever holds down left mouse button first who's going to win that firefight. There's very, very little skill involved with it, and the fact that there's gadgets in this game where, like, there's rockets that lock onto infantry targets. When has that ever been a good idea for a first-person shooter? I mean, the amount of just, like, stupid things in this game really, really irritates me, and that for me is why this game just fell on its face for me.
I don't know what a paddling pool is, but yeah, it is like really, really simple in this game, and yet like it's hard to not die constantly because there's just so much just explosions going off constantly, and they're so powerful that it's hard to live long enough to have fun in a life, unless you just like one of those old-fashioned like commercial advertisement people who just like have fun just by the fact that you're playing a video game, which is stupid. It's difficult to have fun, and
yeah,
as I said before,
I mean,
or go ahead.
Alright, okay. I think I'm not sure if we should have like seen this coming, because if you look at like the latest trailer, the latest trailer that was released before this game came out, I think I might make a video on this actually, because if you cut down that trailer and like take it shot by shot, you can see that in like I think 95% of those shots there is an explosion, big or small, there is an explosion, and that's exactly what it's like in game. I mean, yeah, the trailer showed what it was going to be like, I guess, but that doesn't make it fun. Just because there's pretty eye candy in it does not make it an amazing game.
Oh, I guess just in like the advertisement phase, having tons of explosions makes it look really awesome. It's like a Michael Bay movie, and then whenever you actually see it, you're like, yeah, it's and then
it's cool for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, and then it starts getting rage-inducing.
Yeah.
And then that also, like, just dying constantly is on account of the balance issues. Like, the rebels are heavily outmatched in supremacy and walker assault especially a lot of times. And then on indoor, the Imperials are heavily outmatched because they're wearing glow-in-the-dark white armor, and the Rebels are wearing camo. It's like almost impossible to win in that case, also because on indoor you only have one walker. And also the Rebel ships in dogfighting are way more powerful than the Imperial ships, especially the A-Wing. The A-Wing is the most irritating as hell thing to fight in the air because it's impossible to hit with the lock-on thing. It's like 1 out of every 20 shots you take at it actually are going to hit, and it's irritating as hell. Just adds to the rage factor about this game.
Yeah. I think the other thing that you've got to like take into account here is this game actually worth the $60 that you put down for it? Because there's not a lot of content here. Yeah, fair enough, there's 9 game modes, but compare that to, I think there's like 4 maps per each game mode. That's not a lot, honestly.
Yeah, they just didn't add single player to the game, which I think was understandable because they didn't have much time to actually make this game because EA was squeezing them as hard as possible to get this game out before the first film. So I think this game is really meant to be like a building block for future Battlefront titles. So in the future they won't have to worry about the gun mechanics or many of the character models and environments and such. They can actually focus on things like single player campaign and story and more depth than what this one got. I have here in an article where the guy basically announced that the next ones will have single player. He said the decision by the DICE team was made not to put single player in, but to focus on multiplayer. This isn't to say that decision for future games are locked in stone. We'll determine what that team does as the development team gets further down that process. So, I mean, they say that it was the DICE team that decided to make the multiplayer, nothing else, and I guess that is actually true because they probably realized that, hey, it's legitimately impossible for us to make a substantial single player in this amount of time.
Yeah. I think, like, I get the argument that, like, you want to focus on multiplayer because that's what Battlefront is known for. That's like the same with Battlefield. Like, DICE are known for making decent quality multiplayer games, aside from Mirror's Edge and stuff. But when you focus all of your effort on multiplayer, I expect the multiplayer to be substantial and make up for the fact that there's no single player. And here I feel like it doesn't do that. Like, the multiplayer is so shallow, and like the fact that there's not enough content, really it kind of just hits you in the face that, yeah, there's nothing else you can do apart from this, and if you don't like it, then, well, you kind of just wasted $60. Sorry.
Yeah, there's definitely, to me, not enough vehicles. I mean, there's like the standards like AT, ATST, and fighter planes, starships or whatever they're called. But they had a lot more vehicles in the older Battlefront games, not just like variations, but just in sheer number. Like there were like multiple ATSTs on a map instead of just one, and multiple of those weird floating tank things. They had a lot of different lore-based vehicles in those games that were even in the original planted in the original trilogy. And I mean, they probably could have made like one more planet than what they did for the main release. Like I wish they did something like Renvar, because I loved Renvar in the old Battlefronts. But yeah, and there's a big thing is they're just the large battles can seem empty a lot, and I think a big contributor to that is not just that there's like only 40 players in a match, but there's no bots as well. Like in the older games, they used bots to kind of make the battle seem huger and more immersive, and I love the usage of bots in multiplayer.
Yeah, it worked really well in Titanfall, and you can, well, there are bots in the game, but it's only in the Fighter Squadron game mode, and that works really well. So I think if they were to patch it, possibly, or for the next game, put bots in the like the other game modes, I think that would work really, really well. But I think, as you were saying earlier, like this game is the building block for what could possibly be an even greater Battlefront. I guess that's like the most positive way that you can look at this game, is that no matter how bad this game might be, however much you might have missed the mark, it can only mean good things for what's to come.
Yeah, definitely. This was probably a necessary game that had to come out for the advancement of Battlefront, and it was definitely the only way to come out whenever EA got the rights to make the game, because it was like, oh shit, the next Star Wars is going to be out in like 2 years. We got to dish out some game before that time. And now that this essential step is out, they can build upon it and actually make a deep, intensive, fun game that they were hoping to make with the Battlefront franchise. And I think the final nail in the coffin of just seeing that there's something wrong about this game is the $50 season pass.
Yeah.
$50 for fucking just maps and nothing else. Like, I know there's not going to be any weapons because there aren't any more weapons in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
At least not in the films. There could be in some of the expanded universe, but most of that isn't canon anymore. So it just seems like $50 is just like a lot.
That's the same. That's like the same price for the game again.
Yeah, that's
it's
how
ridiculous.
much I paid for the game.
I'm glad I paid £25 for the game. I think that's like what, $35-40.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't pay any more than that, because I've so far put in 15 hours into the game and enjoyed maybe 2 of those hours. Like I'm really glad that I haven't paid the full like 60. In fact, it's even more expensive here. It's like 55 quid for the deluxe edition. So I'm really happy I didn't go for the full blown deal.
Yeah, people were really scared that the stupid premium from Battlefield was gonna carry over, and it actually did. And
yeah.
Premium's ridiculous. Even I don't care if there's like a ton of maps and a ton of weapons in the end. Like, is that alone enough to constitute almost the entire price of the main game over again? And remember, like in Battlefield's case, the main game has like a fucking campaign, as short as it was, but like 11 maps starting out and 50 guns or so starting out. How is just a few maps and a few weapons almost equal to the exact retail price of the vanilla game?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that you have to take into account is that, like, with the Battlefield 4 season pass, you were pretty much guaranteed to get decent like map packs. But not only that, you were pretty much guaranteed for people to actually play them. Like I remember picking up all the Battlefield 4 map packs, and each and every single one having like a dedicated like amount of players playing them. Whereas if you look at Battlefield Hardline, nobody plays the DLC. That's mainly due to because there's only 3,000 people playing it. But then if you look at, I'm looking at the stats for Star Wars Battlefront right now. Right now there's only 20,000 people on PC peak, like across the world peak. Battlefield 4 is about 30,000 peak. So you can see Battlefront's already doing worse than what Battlefield 4 is, and that's a 2-year-old game. So,
yeah, Battlefield 4 just ended up being like a pretty fantastic game, to be honest. Like I've had more fun in Battlefield 4 than I ever had in Battlefield 3. As much as I loved Battlefield 3 at the time, there was just something about the game that I didn't like as much as I ended up liking Battlefield 4. And
I guess it was just like more modern. Like the fact that it's more modern and like it became a much bigger franchise. I mean, with Battlefield 3, it was kind of just like, oh yeah, it's the Call of Duty wannabe. But now with Battlefield 4, it's kind of like, oh hang on, this is like the big guy. He's an actual proper game that he wants to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the gameplay reveal for Battlefield 3, and it like blew people's minds. And I think the Battlefront gameplay reveal did that too. The Hoth gameplay. I mean, I was like shitting myself over that gameplay, and then the game came out, and I thought it was pretty awesome for the first week, and then just the constant nade spam and stuff just started setting in, and I just started losing it. I mean, I could still play the game. I don't want to play the game as much as I used to, and that's just pretty much on account of how the game is. So I'm hopeful for the future. I know that the future Battlefront games are going to be fantastic. The next one, I think, is probably going to be a well-received game.
I hope so.
Yeah, they're going to make up for it. I mean, Dice Stockholm, definitely, I don't think they're as good with people as Dice LA are, but I think they can pull off an amazing game building off of what they made here. So, yeah, I guess there's hope for the franchise. This game kind of missed the mark, but in terms of the franchises, it's a good enough reboot for the franchise.
Yeah.
Alright. I think that's all the time we have, even though there's no time limit. Thanks for talking to me today, Major Meteor.
Nibosh, thank you for having me.
And if you guys like this, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, this is Yummy. Goodbye and good hunting.